Tara cradled her newborn son Ehi in her arms as the morning sunlight filtered into the small apartment. It had been only 3 days since the delivery, and every part of her body still ached. Her belly once taut now hung loose, a testament to the life she had carried. But none of that mattered when she looked at Ehi's tiny, perfect face. The door creaked open. Her husband, Efwa, walked in. He had just returned from grocery store. "Tara, have you even showered today?" he asked, wrinkling his nose. Tara sighed. "I was about to, but the baby woke up hungry and you've been home all day. What is stopping you from having your bath? Look at you. Just look at your stomach. It's still so big. Are you planning to do something about it or what? You look ugly in case you don't know." Her chest tightened as if a hand had reached inside and squeezed it. She looked at him, stunned. "Efwa, I just had the baby 3 days ago. My body is still recovering." He shrugged, unpacking the groceries. Please. Don't use that as an excuse. You are not the first woman to have a child, and it's not even a big deal. It's just a child, not like an elephant came out of you. Other women bounce back faster. I saw it on her after she had her second baby, and she didn't look like this. Tara swallowed hard, trying to keep her composure. "Well, I don't need to look like it on her or anyone else. My body just went through labor. Do you even hear yourself?" Effa didn't reply, instead mumbling something under his breath. Tara bit her lip and focused on her son. That night, after he had finally fallen asleep, Tara sat on the edge of the bed, replaying Effa's words. This wasn't the first time he had criticized her. During her pregnancy, he had commented on her weight gain, telling her to watch it so she wouldn't have a hard time losing it later. Back then, she dismissed it, thinking he was just stressed. But now, 3 days postpartum, his words felt cruel. She felt betrayed. How could a man who watched her labor for over 12 hours, who cut the umbilical cord, suddenly act as though her body had become a problem? The next morning, Tara decided to talk to Effa about it. She waited until he was seated at the table, scrolling his phone. "Effa, we need to talk." He barely looked up. "What is it about?" She sat down across from him. "You've been making comments about my body, and it's hurtful. Effa, you know I just gave birth, right? I don't need you to criticize me every single day. What I need is time to heal." He sighed, setting his phone down. "I'm just being honest. You know I'm not trying to hurt you, but it's the truth. Do you want my friends to mock me? Look at you. Just. Please, work on yourself and stop eating like a homeless person." Tara's voice cracked, but she pushed through. "Effa, I carried our son for 9 months. My body stressed and endured pain to bring him into this world. Do you even understand what that means?" Effa shifted uncomfortably. "Tara, you carried him for 9 months, not 5 years. Look, I get it that..." "No," Tara interrupted. "You don't get it. I need your support, not your judgment. If you can't understand that, then maybe you need to reevaluate the kind of husband and father you want to be." Her words hung in the air, heavier than she had intended. Effa just quietly left the room. Tara was seated on the couch, her newborn son Ehi cradled in her arms. She hadn't slept properly in days. Every muscle in her body felt sore, and the apartment seemed to close in on her with its endless mess, unwashed bottles, piles of laundries, and takeout containers stacked on the kitchen counter. Her chest ached from nursing, her stitches stung, and her emotions swung widely between love for her son and exhaustion so deep she could barely think. Effa barely even helped with chores. His routine had remained largely unchanged since the baby was born. Go to work, come home, scroll on his phone, and occasionally offer to hold Ehi when he wasn't crying. She had been drowning, waiting for some kind of relief, and when her mother called to say she was coming for Omugwo, Tara felt the rush of gratitude. So overwhelming, she cried right there on the phone. When Mama Otiwo arrived 2 days later, her presence filled the apartment with a warmth Tara hadn't realized she'd been missing. She came armed with bags of groceries, herbal tea, and a fierce determination to take care of her daughter. Look at you, her mother said as she embraced Tara. You're so thin here and round there. Tara flinched slightly, but she knew her mother meant no harm. Don't worry, my child, you just gave birth. It is completely normal. But by the time I'm done with you, you'll be fine, okay? Mama Otiwo wasted no time. Within hours of arrival, the kitchen was filled with aroma of banga soup and freshly pounded ema. She scrubbed the counters, washed the piles of laundry, and rocked Ehi to sleep. My daughter, she said one evening, spooning hot pepper soup into Tara's bowl. You need strength. Eat and rest. Leave the cleaning to me. For the first time in weeks, Tara felt like she could breathe. Effort's demeanor noticeably changed once Mama Otiwo was in the house. He was usually polite, offering to help clear the table after dinner or holding Emeka for longer than his usual 5 minutes. For a moment, Tara thought things might finally improve, but when her mother wasn't around, the comment started slipping back. One afternoon, as Tara sat nursing Ehi in their bedroom, Effa walked in. He stood by the dresser pretending to look for something. You know, he began casually. It might be a good idea to start doing a little exercise. Just light stuff, you know. It's not good to stay like this for too long. Effa, I'm barely 3 weeks postpartum. My body is still healing. I've told you this. Please stop. He shrugged. Well, I'm just saying. You don't want to wait until it's too late. Look at it, Oha. After her second baby, she's already back to her normal size. Tara bit her lip and turned her attention back to Efwa. If you can't be helpful, please leave. Later that evening, while Tara and her mother were folding clothes in the living room, Mama Otiwo looked up and said, How is Efwa treating you? Is he helping with the baby? Tara hesitated, her hands stealing. He's trying, Mama. Her mother raised an eyebrow. Trying. That doesn't sound like a yes. Tara sighed. She hadn't intended to bring it up, but the words spilled out before she could stop them. He's not doing much, Mama. And he keeps making comments about my body, especially when you're not around. Mama Otiwo froze. What kind of comments? Tara looked down, folding a blanket into a neat square. About my weight. How I need to exercise or how other women lose it faster. Her mother's lips pressed into a thin line. He's saying this to you? After you just gave birth? Tara nodded, tears pricking her eyes. I have told him it hurts, but he doesn't stop. He only behaves when you are here. Her mother let out a sharp breath. Tara, let me tell you something. A good husband doesn't sit and watch his wife struggle. And he certainly doesn't tear her down when she's at her most vulnerable. What kind of nonsense is this? Mama, please, Tara said, her voice trembling. Don't say anything. I just needed to talk to someone. I'll handle it. Mama Otiwo studied her daughter's face, her expression softening. Fine, no, I won't say anything. But my daughter, you need to speak up for yourself. Effa needs to understand that what he's doing is wrong. Don't let him continue like this, I'm telling you. Tara nodded, though she didn't feel as confident as she wanted to. Mama Otiwo's presence was Tara's refuge. She made sure Tara ate well, rested, and took short walks outside to get some fresh air. Tara noticed Effa was careful to keep his distance whenever her mother was around. His tone subdued and his comments scarce. Tara sat cross-legged on the couch, balancing a plate of eba and omebe, popularly known as black soup, on her lap. The rich aroma wafted through the small living room, momentarily easing her tension. It was one of the few comforting things in her life right now. Ehi, her newborn, slept quietly in the bassinet beside her. And for a moment, Tara allowed herself to feel a flicker of peace. Her mother had stepped out to get groceries, leaving her alone for the first time in days. Just as she took another bite, the sound of the front door opening startled her. Effa walked in, his tie loose around his neck, a sour expression on his face. Tara didn't need to ask. She knew he wasn't in a good mood. He tossed his car key on the table, glanced at her plates, and smirked. So this is what you are doing all day while I'm at work? Eating. Tara paused mid-bite, her hand trembling slightly. She forced herself to stay calm. I'm eating because I'm breastfeeding, Effa. I need the energy. Effa coughed, sitting down and leaning back in his chair. Energy for what? Sitting here all day? Tara, you should be careful. You're already looking bigger than you should. Don't let food make it worse. I just gave birth, Jide. My body is still healing. I'm doing the best I can. Tara, you gave birth to a baby, not an elephant or a hippopotamus. Please stop eating like a homeless person. Stop eating like you are feeding a village, he muttered under his breath, laughing at his own comment. Tara put down her spoon, clenched her fists. She was about to respond when the door opened again. Mama Otivo walked in, carrying a bag of groceries. She paused just inside the doorway, watching the scene unfold. Her face remained calm, but the anger in her eyes was unmistakable. Efwa, Mama Otivo began, setting the groceries down on the table. So, it's not a crime for my daughter to eat in her own house. At least her body looks this way because she brought a life into this world. You, what is your excuse? Look at your stomach, round like a calabash. Are you pregnant too? You look like you are pregnant with triplets. And your legs, hey, bent as if they can't carry you properly. Maybe you should focus on yourself instead of shaming my daughter. Effa turned to her. His face darkened. Mama, please, respect yourself. This is my house. This is not your husband's house. You can't come to my house and insult me. Mama Otivo laughed bitterly, folding her arms. Respect myself. I'm not the one insulting my wife after she nearly gave her life to bring my child into the world. You should be ashamed of yourself. And for the records, this is not your house. It is also Tara's home. Or is she a visitor here? Tara sat frozen, unsure whether to intervene. Effa stood up abruptly, towering over his mother-in-law. Mama, I'm warning you. Don't cross your limit. Mama Otiwo didn't back down. You've already crossed your limit by treating my daughter like this. She deserves better than you, Effa. Effa's temper boiled over. She turned to Tara, who had finally found the courage to stand up. Tara, tell your mother to leave this house right now. No, Effa, Tara said firmly, her voice trembling but resolute. You owe her an apology, and you owe me one too. For months, you've been insulting me, making me feel worthless, and I've kept quiet, but not anymore. Apologize to her. Don't tell me what to do in my own house, he shouted. And before anyone could react, he raised his hand and struck Tara across the face. The slap echoed through the room. Tara stumbled, clutching her cheeks in disbelief as tears spilled from her eyes. Mama Otivo gasped, stepping forward to shield her daughter. Effa, you dare lay your hands on my daughter. When she tried to push him back, Effa shoved her away, causing her to stumble. Tara let out a cry, rushing to her mother's side. That was the final straw. You will regret this today, Mama Otivo said, her voice trembling with rage as she fumbled for her phone. She dialed her husband's number. Come quickly. Your son-in-law has laid his hands on both Tara and me. Bring the boys. Within an hour, Tara's father and brothers arrived. Their expressions grinned as they confronted Effa. He tried to defend himself, arguing and shouting, but the situation escalated when Tara's father called the police. This is unacceptable, Tara's father said, his voice low but dangerous. You don't lay hands on a woman, ever. You don't deserve my daughter. Effa was arrested for domestic violence. His shout of protest silenced as the police led him away in handcuffs. That night, Mama Otiwo packed Tara's clothes and baby items. Tara sat quietly on the bed, cradling Ehi. Her cheek was swollen and her spirit felt bruised, but she was finally starting to feel a sense of clarity. My daughter, Mama Otiwo said gently, kneeling in front of her. You are coming home with us. A man who hit you once will do it again. You deserve so much better than this. Tara nodded, her voice trembling. Thank you, Mama. They left the house that night, taking Ehi and everything Tara could carry. As they drove back to her family home, she didn't know what the future held, but she knew she wouldn't raise her son in a home filled with violence and disrespect. For the first time in a long time, Tara felt a spark of hope. She had a chance to start over, and this time, she wouldn't settle for anything less than peace and love. Days after Effa's arrest, his family arrived at Tara's father's house. They came in a group. His parents, two uncles, and his elder sister. Tara sat in the living room beside her mother, her hand resting protectively on Ehi's tiny back. Her father, a stern man of few words, welcomed them into the house, but wasted no time getting to the point. Effa's father, a frail man with graying hair, began the conversation. My in-laws, we are here to beg for forgiveness on behalf of our son. He made a mistake, one we deeply regret. Please have mercy and release him. Mama Otiros coughed, folding her arms. Mistake? You call abusing my daughter and laying hands on her a mistake? Please. Effa's mother interjected, her voice shaking. We've spoken to him. He knows what he did was wrong and has promised never to do it again. He's learned his lesson in prison. Tara's father, who had been quiet, finally spoke, his tone firm and unyielding. Learned his lesson? How? Has he endured the sleepless nights my daughter did? Did he carry a child for 9 months, only to be shamed and beaten after bringing that child into the world? Until Effa understands the pain he caused to my daughter, his suffering will never compare. The room was silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Tara's father continued, We are done with Effa. Whenever you are ready, come and collect your bride price. My daughter will never return to that man or that marriage. Effa's sister tried to reason with him. But sir, think about Ehi. A child deserves to grow up with both parents. At this, Tara finally spoke up, her voice steady despite the emotions in her eyes. A child deserves to grow up in a home filled with love and respect, not in a house where his mother is abused and insulted. Ehi will grow up fine because I will make sure he does. Her father nodded in agreement. This conversation is over. We've made our decision. 2 years passed, and with the support of her family, Tara rebuilt her life. She returned to school, started a small business, and devoted herself to raising Ehi. She worked hard, determined to give her son a stable, loving home. Then one day she met Kola. He was a kind man, patient and thoughtful, with a warm smile that made her heart feel lighter for the first time in years. He treated her with respect, adored Ehi, and never made her feel like less because of her past. Their love grew slowly but steadily, and 2 years after they met, they were married in a simple yet beautiful ceremony surrounded by family and friends. Kola embraced Ehi as his own, never treating him differently from the twin daughters they had had together. Their home was filled with laughter, love, and warmth, everything Tara had once feared she'd never have. One evening, as Tara watched Kola play with Ehi and the twins in their backyard, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She thought back to the dark days with Jide and marveled at how far she had come. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. You're stronger than you think, my daughter. And Tara smiled, knowing it was true. Life hadn't been easy, but she had fought for her happiness and now she was living it.